What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what just came out associated to Lucid, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 2.51%. A couple things did come out, starting off with macro data. ISM manufacturing came in at 47.9, forecast of 48. So not really that crazy of a market mover. It caused a little bit of volatility though, mind you, but the market seems to be really moving forward. Over the weekend, we did have the updates from associated to Venezuela. Market didn't really know exactly how to interpret all that and whether there was going to be some sort of retaliation. The fact that there wasn't, and everyone seems to be pretty content with how everything went down, the market's kind of moving forward. So overall, pretty good day. In Lucid's case though, they did it. They actually hit their 2025 targets. So they are definitely deserving of a round of applause. So they did put out their numbers. As I mentioned on my weekend video, it's either going to be today or tomorrow. And yeah, it came in absolutely phenomenal. 18,378, up 104% year over year. Deliveries, as anticipated as well, was going to lag. So it came in at 15,841. That is an increase of 55%. It'd be a little bit more advantageous if they actually did break it down a little bit further. I know they said that they weren't going to ever do that. I think they mentioned that like under Peter, but it'd be good if they actually broke it down on how many, for instance, gravities they sold. Because if you think about it, gravity was and is a very big deal for Lucid. So if they far exceeded errors, then why not showcase that? So that would have been a good stat to include, but in Q4, they did do 8,412. That is up 116% quarter over quarter. So like I said, phenomenal stuff. This is the handy dandy document right here. So the good old Excel document. So they hit their target. Absolutely amazing. So technically in 2023 and also 2024, they did hit their target technically as well, but that's because they did amend their targets in Q3. I don't really consider that being a beat. 2025 is the first time that they amended it, I guess in Q2, and then they still hit it. So definitely good stuff, if you ask me. Aside from that though, deliveries, so they have roughly around 3,000 in excess inventory. So hopefully they're able to really kind of reiterate that they can get rid of that fast, because that's going to be something that the market will really care about. But honestly, they did it. So very good stuff as far as that goes. Shorts, they are increasing about 5,000 shares. So not doing too much, but we are sitting at all-time high short interest numbers. 35.72% of the free float is being shorted, works to be 46.5 million shares overall being shorted. So definitely a very interesting time, still with all-time high short interest numbers. DTC 5.57 days does signal that shorts are very overextended. I know a lot of individuals were really hoping that Lucid was going to have a squeeze with these numbers, but I think if there is going to be one, it's going to be during their actual earnings call, which is slated for February the 24th. So just kind of sit tight for that. They're still doing the Q&A, so those questions will be available to be posed February the 10th, but don't hold your breath for this, because yeah, I don't really see that being that big of a deal, in my opinion, because retail always somehow finds a way to ask really not the greatest questions. But aside from that though, shorts, like I said, are increasing a small amount. Looking at the options, 325,000 in calls, 1.2 in puts. 77% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. So definitely good to see. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 13. And once I go over the technicals, that'll make a little bit more sense on why we could be seeing realistically 13. And I kind of touched on it again on my weekend video, but from a bear standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be sub 11 for the most part. 4 transactions so far occurring on the secondary market, 2 buys, 2 sells. So pretty good stuff for that. And then these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. A lot of hold numbers, so it goes to show that hedge funds are very active today. But right now with that 1143 trading right on this R1. So 1143 is going to be that key point to really close above. 1103 is going to be a strong support. I don't see that being on the table whatsoever today. And then 1167. So in Lucid's case, I think it really does want to move higher. And you can tell that based on this. So it is currently testing that 10-day moving average, and that's sitting at 1141. In the past, Lucid always gets knocked down. But if we kind of pop over to the 4-hour, this is where you're kind of seeing Lucid's kind of interesting price action. And again, as I even mentioned on my weekend video, or even technically on Friday, you could have done a pretty good swing trade just from $11 to this 100-day moving average, and that's sitting at 1156. So you would have made some pretty good money from that. But if we look back, Lucid has seemed to be kind of struggling with that 100-day moving average. So bounced off of that December the 22nd, January the 5th, or in the morning, or I guess the overnight, so that's technically the 2nd, and then this as well, so the 5th. So if Lucid is able to get above that, then you could see some very interesting price action to potentially that 200-day moving average, so that is sitting at 1226. From a bull standpoint, this is where, again, they are anticipating that it'll be at roughly $13 plus by the end of the week. So if it's able to get above that 100-day moving average today, then similarly, you could see a nice swing trade to that 200. So pretty good stuff. So I think in general, it's just technicals. That is the only thing that is really holding Lucid back. And quickly going back over to the daily, one thing as well to really watch for is that 50-day moving average. And that, of course, is a very big deal for Lucid. So every time it does typically get above that, usually results in like a 30% swing most of the time. But 1367, that's that 50-day moving average. So all in all, I do feel that this week is going to be pretty bullish for Lucid, as I kind of mentioned. And it's really good to see that Lucid actually did hit their targets. I obviously was a doubtful individual on occasion. I thought they were going to fall short to between that like 16 to 17,000, but definitely good to see that they hit a home run. They came out, Harry Potter, as I mentioned, he came, did his magical little crap on Lucid and caused it to really hit a home run. So definitely good to see. Like I mentioned though, one thing that I think the market is really going to be watching for in their upcoming earnings is for them to not only have very ambitious 2026 targets, but they are going to talk on how they plan on getting rid of this excess inventory. And if you actually think about it, there's actually quite a few actual promotions floating around. So maybe that is Lucid's way of getting rid of excess inventory. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying this news? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with Lucid? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.